What's up? What's up?
Welcome to Let's Talk About It, where we give it to you raw and uncut. The podcast show where we speak what's on our mind. Now here's your host, Amina G.
Welcome. Good afternoon. Welcome to Let's Talk About It. I am your host, Amina G. An 11-year-old black kid was shot in his chest close range after following a police officer's command. Aderriens Murry was shot close range by Officer Greg Capers on May 20th. After the child called 911 to get help for his mother. The mother of Aderriens, Nicaila Murray, said one of her children's father had showed up to her house at 4 a.m. in the morning, acted irate. She was able to sneak away and give Aderriens a cell phone and instruct him to call 911 and her mother, which is his grandmother. And that is what the child did. He followed his mother's instruction. He called 911 first and then called his grandmother. Aderriens' mother said when the police arrived at her house, they had already arrived with their guns drawn already. So when they got to the house and came up to the door, the guns were already out and drawn. Nicaila said the officers asked everyone in the home to come outside, to step outside the house, and which they did just that. But when 11-year-old Aderriens came around the corner with his hands up, Officer Greg Caper, who was also black, shot him one time in his chest.
You're listening to Let's Talk About It with your host, Amina G.
Now, this is a tragedy. This is a tragedy that the officer, opened fire on an 11-year-old child like this after giving a command for anybody that was in the house to come out of the house. That's what they did, but he was still shot. The child's mother went to his aid, putting pressure on his wound. She recalls asking the officer what happened, and the officer said that he shot him. The 11-year-old was taken to a nearby hospital. He was placed on a ventilator and had to have a chest tube placed in his chest. When the family attorney was asked how his client was doing, this is what he had to say.
He is trying to stay in good spirits. He's trying to comfort his mother because she feels that it's her fault. But he's a remarkable young man, still has some pain in his side, still struggles to breathe, but he's blessed to be alive, and he gives all praise to God.
Now, this is an 11-year-old kid, y'all. This was a kid that was shot close range and could have had his life taken for him. And for what reason? There is no amount of money in the world that could bring, my child back. I would rather have my child than anything else in the world. And that is an actual fact. This kid was shot after he followed a command from a police officer. He still was shot in his chest. Also, when the family attorney was asked, did he feel that the officer had made a mistake, thinking that the child was maybe an adult, this is what he also had to say.
I don't think there's any earthly justifiable reason that you would shoot an unarmed 11-year-old. No veteran cop should have been afraid. Even a rookie would not make that mistake. There was a rookie officer with the sergeant that night. She didn't make that mistake, but the veteran officer shot this boy point blank range, center mass in his chest. Could have killed him graveyard dead. He came within an inch of losing his life. And that's why we have filed that $5 million lawsuit.
Now, they filed a $5 million lawsuit in court because of the shooting of this 11-year-old kid that was shot in his chest close range. Could have took his life. He came inches away from dying. Now, I'm going to stop right here because I have some questions that I just feel that need to be that needs to be answered. I have some questions, and I'm sure the listening audience would like to know the same thing. The first question is that I need to know is, what is the protocols? What are the protocols when a police officer shows up at your house in a situation that might be a little rough, a situation that might be a little rough? What is the protocols to that? Does the police officer show up and pull out his gun right away, or do he assess the situation? And secondly, does the question that I have is, does the 911 dispatcher dispatch to the police officer, to the police dispatcher, I should say, that there is a situation going on where a child has called 911 for help? Is that relayed to the officers that are en route to that scene, to that house? Is the 911 officer, does the I should say the 911 officer relay to the police dispatch that it is a child that called 911 for help for his mother? And if so, shouldn't then the police officer proceed with precaution, knowing that there is a child or children in that house? Should they already come to that house with their guns drawn? That's what I would like to know. What is the protocols in a situation like that?
You're listening to Let's Talk About It with your host, Amina G.
Now, this is what I also would like to say. This 11-year-old said that he sees himself in a coffin. Now, this is bad. An 11-year-old that was shot in his chest, close range, says that now, all he could see was at that time himself in a coffin. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Sometimes I can see myself laying inside the coffin. Them are my thoughts at night, my only ones. And sometimes I think people are watching me. But my main thought is me dead.
This is bad. He said his main thought is him dead. It's terrible. This baby is going to need a lot of mental and emotional counseling moving forward. And I hope the family is able to get that for him, because he's definitely going to need this some counseling, some therapy.
You're listening to Let's Talk About It with your host, Amina G.
The 11-year-old said that he also saying no weapons formed against him should prosper. He was convinced that he was going to die. He even began to tell his mother, to tell his family and his teachers that he was sorry for what he had done. He was sorry for what he had done. So he was convinced that he was dying, and he told his mother to please tell his family and his teachers that he was sorry for what he had done. This is bad. This is a terrible, terrible thing for an 11-year-old to have to experience, being shot in the chest and thinking that he was dying. He also asked his mother, what did he do? What did he do to that he was shot? So, he thought that he maybe had did something, that he didn't follow commands, or, that he had did something to be shot. And he really didn't. The officer just opened fire on him.
You're listening to Let's Talk About It with your host, Amina G.
Now, I'm going to play a clip of the mother's side of the story, which she said that occurred the night of the shooting, which was May 20th. So let's take a listen in on what the mother had to say.
Excuse me. So Saturday morning around 4 a.m., I was in the bed asleep with my daughter and my nephew. My son was in his room. I heard a knock on my window. It was my child's father. My daughter's father. I went to the door to see, open it up to see what he wanted. And I noticed he was kind of irate. And from dealing with him in the past, I know the irate version of him, what it could lead to.
We're listening to Michaela Murray
for a minute.
telling her side of the story.
Talking irate. At the moment, the kids were still in their bedrooms. They were asleep at the moment, but my son was up at first. I did hear his headboard. That's how I knew he was up. So I have anxiety, so I throw up when I'm nervous. So at the moment I was throwing up, I went to the bathroom and I saw my son peeking from under the cover. I went and gave him his phone out my bedroom while I was getting a towel to clean up the mess I made. And I told him to call my mom. He called the police first and then he called my mom. The police came. My mom also called the police when he called her. The police came at that moment. It was a minute. They were hollering, open the door, open the door. When I opened it, his gun was up. He was telling me to come out. I went out. I got out the way. I walked towards the end of my driveway where my mom was. And I heard a shot. And I saw my son run out towards where we were. He ran from the inside of the house all the way out to where we were. And that's when he fell bleeding, shot. And I put pressure on I put pressure on it to help stop the bleeding. It bleeding so much. I asked the cop. I thought what happened. He told me he shot my son. That he didn't know he came around a corner. There were no real explanations of what happened, and it just basically went and started from there.
Okay, so that was the mother's take on what happened on May 20th when her son
So Saturday morning around
shot close range by Officer Greg Capers. That was the mother, like I said, giving her take of the story. We know the officer that shot Aderriens Murry has yet to make a statement. He hasn't made a statement yet. We also know that the officer was placed on paid leave. And this is another thing that I don't like. Me personally, I feel that if you shoot somebody, a child, unjustly, an adult, it doesn't matter. You don't get pay. You just don't get pay. You don't get paid while the investigation is going on. You just don't. You could have took this kid's life. This is an 11-year-old child that we're talking about. You don't get pay while an investigation is going on. He was placed on paid leave, and that, like I said, needs to be changed. Again, I'm not against police doing their jobs, but I am against the use of unnecessary force, especially in our Black community. Featherstone, the mayor, said he cannot support the officer being fired before knowing all the facts, and at this time he has not seen all the facts. He said he has not yet seen the body camera footage of the incident, and he has not spoke to Officer Capers. What's the holdup? Why have you not seen the body camera footage? And in fact, why haven't the footage been released to the public? The footage should have been released to the public by now. This incident happened on May 20th. And it should be released. You should have seen it by now. Um, like I said, I'm not against police officers doing their jobs, but I am against the use of unnecessary force, especially in the Black communities. Um, Aderriens said that his perception of police have changed since the shooting. He also added that that wasn't the only thing that has changed and that is different in his life. The child said when he's alone in a dark room, when he's alone in a dark room, he often thinks police people are inside his home. Sometimes he thinks he's seeing the officer who shot him standing inside of a corner, or standing in the corner, I should say, just staring at him. So already he has some problems that that is going to need to be addressed. He's already saying that he's thinking that people are watching him, just standing there looking at him. He's seen the police officer that shot him in the corner in his room. This baby is going to need a long, 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 long time of emotional and emotional therapy. He's definitely going to need that, and I hope that they get that help for him. I really do.
You're listening to Let's Talk About It with your host, Amina G.
The mother, Michaela, said that she is angry. She's very angry, and rightfully so. But she's so overfilled with joy at the same time because her child is here with her that she just does not have the time and the energy to be angry. And I understand that. She also says she wonders whether it was the right move, and would have had been safer not to have called the police. So she said that she wondered if it would have been safer not for her to call the police on May 20th. She said that after the shooting, she got down on the floor to help put pressure on her son's gunshot wound, and she began praying with her son. And the officer, Greg Capers, that shot her son, began praying with them. She said that she trusts in the law and that she hopes that the law makes the right decision in the shooting of her son. But she also added that something has to be done, that she just needs peace and justice.
You're listening to Let's Talk About It with your host, Amina G.
A lot of people ask me why I do stories like this. I've been asked a million times, Amina, why do you do stories like this? And my response to those people who ask me that question is because the Black and the brown communities are suffering. And I want the Black and the brown communities that are suffering to wake up and realize that, things have to change. The world is not the same. We are being choked, we're being gunned down, and a lot of times it's not even only white people that are doing this to our own people. It's our own people that are doing this to us. So I need the Black and the brown communities to wake up instead of hurting each other, try loving each other and try helping each other. That's why I do these stories, because hopefully, our community will understand that we're in trouble, and if we're not there for each other, if we don't have each other's back, who's going to have our back? Because right now, they're shooting our babies, they're killing our babies, they're killing our people. The world is just not the same. And, a lot of this starts at home, talking to our children, educating our children on what's going on in the world. We have to do it. We have to do it. And let me just say this, because on Let's Talk About It, we give it to you raw and uncut. I don't understand how this cop, Greg Capers, could have mistaken an 11-year-old child as an adult when this baby looks just like a kid. He's a child. He does not look like an adult at all. So how could he have mistaken this kid as an adult? I don't understand that. I want to say if an officer, not only Greg Capers, any officer is that nervous, that trigger happy, then maybe being a police officer is just not the job for you. Our children are being murdered, choked, shot. We have to protect our babies. We do, by any means necessary. Any means necessary. Our children need us to step up. The world is not the same, like I said, and it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. It'll probably get worse before it gets better. I'm going to be doing a follow-up show on this story. It is necessary that I do another a follow-up on the story. Don't forget to tune in every Sunday afternoon at 3:00 p.m. Please don't forget to like, share, and comment as you see fit. Until the next time, my friends, stay safe, be proactive, protect our babies by any means necessary. And it is never too late to bow down on your knees and pray to your Creator.
They shooting. We want to thank everyone for tuning in. Check back every Sunday at 9 a.m. for new episodes. You can find us on Buzzsprout and Let's Talk About It, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Facebook at Amina G100. Until next time, be safe. You have been listening to Let's Talk About It with your host, Amina G.
Let's talk about it with Amina G.
Welcome to Let's Talk About It, where we give it to you raw.
The podcast that deals with issues America needs to hear.
I mean, the more we talk to them about it, the more we fight about it, the more we march, the more we fight against it.
And you can find it just about anywhere online. You have no excuse not to listen. Find Let's Talk About It with Amina G on Spotify, Buzzsprout, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Facebook at Amina G100, Instagram at Amina_G, spelled at G-E-E, and YouTube at Let's Talk About It with your host, Amina G. Email aminagpodcast@gmail.com. There, if you can't find it now, that's on you. Let's Talk About It with Amina G. Listen to it anywhere.